Pro wrestling fanatics, welcome back to the 10 count. As ours, I am that R to the B to the V, Richard Bronson, Vickery, and Poz. I'm going to need your help with this one, brother. I'm going to need your help because in wrestling lore, they say if you say his name, he will appear. I need you to help me with that on this one. Are you ready? Pause. 3, 2, 1. Jargo. Holy
Freddy
shit,
Krueger.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
He's
Look
back.
at that. It worked. You are right. He is back. Because everything positive. Remember when there was 3 of us? We are back in the saddle again. Jargo, my friend, welcome to the 10 count. Welcome back, to the 2-man power trip platform, the HMG, but first time with the 10 count.
Yeah, I'm feeling like Freddy Krueger. You say his name and he appears. I don't believe in Joe Hendry, but I do believe in RBV and John Poz. Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on the show. It's greatly appreciated. Indianapolis represent at least for another week and a half.
Absolutely. It was nice. Are you an hour behind or still on our time zone? We were trying to figure it out here because you're going to be 3 hours here in a couple weeks, but
no, I'm still with you. I'm still in the Eastern time zone for now, heading to the Great Northwest.
That is awesome. Well, first and foremost, brother, happy birthday as we record here on July 2nd, a Wednesday evening. You are familiar with the show format. We do 10 points, 10 conversations, hitting them down, knocking them out. And brother, we just want to start off. Number 1, we're going to throw it out there to you. Man, we don't get you regularly, man. Jargo on wrestling, man. What have you been watching? What have you been feeling? What's the high spots, the low spots? Open mic here, brother.
So, I watch everything, man. I watch WWE. I watch AEW. I obviously keep up with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I follow along with Stardom. I follow along with Marigold since Rossi made his grand exit from, Bushi Road and Stardom. So, I'm still pretty involved. Although you pick a little bit of a strange week to have me on, given the Saudi Arabia connection. Everybody knows that I don't watch any of the Blood Money shows. I think we just passed Blood Money 13, and I've yet to watch one of the Blood Money shows. I'm very, very proud of that. Although some things happened over in Saudi Arabia that I have some opinions on that I'm happy to share my opinions with. But all in all, I feel like pro wrestling's in a pretty good place, right? I feel like the scary one right now is WWE, which may sound ridiculous, but Rick, you and I have had this conversation off air. I'm interested for John Poz's kind of take on this. WWE right now reminds me a lot of WCW in mid to late 1997. So leading up to Sting versus Hogan and Starrcade. I think WWE is making a lot of mistakes right now. That are not hurting them yet, but maybe 2 years from now, you can kind of trace back to the footsteps and say, this is where they started going wrong. This is what they started doing wrong. This is when fan interest started to wane a little bit. And I feel like, especially coming out of the Bloodline storyline with Jey Uso winning the WWE Championship, the sale to TKO, the prices inflating, this WrestleMania kind of debacle that we've went through with New Orleans versus Vegas. I think there's a lot of similarities to be drawn between, mid 1997 WCW and modern WWE. Everything's great right now. You just signed that new big TV deal. Everything's great, but who's to say you're not going to be AEW 2 years from now and you start seeing what AEW did, right? Originally, AEW had all this good faith in the fans. The fans had the good faith in the company, and then they started pulling some stuff that fans were like, nope, I'm out. Nope, I'm out. And now all of a sudden we're running 2,500 person arenas and we have to build things back up. I think AEW has done a great job of building things back up as we sit here on the precipice of Dynamite 300.
Big milestone.
I think things are looking in the right direction for AEW. But as I look at WWE long term, I'm seeing a lot of errors that are very easily corrected that they are making, all the way down to kind of the Saudi Arabia deal. I've always been against it. But one of the things we're going to talk about today is the women's division. Well, you have somebody like Zelina Vega dropping the United States championship
hold on. We'll
in Saudi Arabia. No. I know. But you have instances like that and the fans are like, you know what, I'm out. And you lose a fan here, a fan there, another fan here, and things kind of tend to trend downwards. And I feel like that's kind of where WWE is right now.
Poz is the ultimate historian. The comparisons, the parallels to WCW in that late 90s, just pre the decline, the fall of Rome, if you will. How do you feel about making those comparisons? Jargo's assessment there.
I thought you were going with the old wrestlers being on top things. 48-year-old
that's
Cena,
part of it too. I mean,
46-year-old Punk,
Gunther,
58-year-old Goldberg. I thought that's where I thought you were going. All the old guys, all the old dudes. Cody, by the way, just turned 40. I mean, not that that's old technically wrestling, but I'm saying R-Truth is 53. So I thought that's where I thought you were going with WWE pushing all the old guys.
No, that's absolutely part of it too, and we're seeing a little bit of that pushback, and a little bit of that pushback becomes a lot of pushback. And it's just, I'm not saying that WWE is in trouble in any way, shape, or form. They just signed a huge deal with Netflix. But it's one of those things that I feel like we can look at the past and say, this is where Bischoff screwed up. Is Hunter making those same mistakes with easily correctable problems that just become a multitude of problems until things spiral too far downhill?
WrestleMania 41, the finish to WrestleMania 41 was worse than Starrcade 1997.
Absolutely.
And the one thing I do want to point out is you had mentioned there where credit is due, and maybe that it's not, that you mentioned Triple H, and a lot of fans look towards him. A lot of this big wheeling and dealing that we're seeing, these big booms, this is all above his pay grade. But if shit hits the fan, Hunter is the front of this thing right now. He's going to be the one to fall on the sword when all of this goes down. But Jargo, you had mentioned Saudi and his 13 shows, lucky number there, whatever. I wanted to use this platform to see if you come around after 13 shows all these years later, if you are prepared to show, to man up, go on that same level as CM Punk. And will you, Jargo, apologize to the good people of Saudi Arabia? They want nice things too. And they are showing that they're getting hip with Western society there.
Nope. Not with the people that are still in charge of that government. I tell you what, I will come around on Saudi Arabia as soon as they stop taking reporters, chopping them into little pieces, and sending them back to their families in a box. Because what went completely unnoticed inside of the American media, this happened again. 2 weeks ago, a Saudi reporter sends out a tweet criticizing the Saudi government on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And they chopped him up into little pieces and sent him home in a cardboard box to his family. As soon as the Saudi government comes around on that, then maybe I will consider that. But I also will say, in defense of CM Punk, all right, in defense of CM Punk, there's been a lot of conversation over the course of the last couple of weeks about CM Punk and his hypocrisy, given what he said about Saudi Arabia. All right. Now, number one, that was Punk, and that is Punk's brand. He has always done this, whether it be Black Lives Matter, whether it be No Kings. He's always been on this side of politics. He was going at The Miz, who is a terrible human being, and he was relating that to the Saudi government. With that said, while I won't give Punk a pass, you know who else I won't give a pass? Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn shows up in Saudi Arabia, not only wearing a Saudi Arabian headdress, but also wearing the colors of Saudi Arabia on his trunks, knowing full damn well that a man of Syrian descent walking down the street in Saudi Arabia likely would have his freaking head cut off and put on a pike for everybody to see. And you want to sit there and soak in the adulation of that audience? No. Sami Zayn, you do not get a pass just because of CM Punk. And I was much more disappointed in Sami Zayn than I was in CM Punk over the course of the last weekend.
Very interesting. Poz, your thoughts on CM Punk and his apology to the Saudi people?
Could call me by surprise, to be honest, but I don't know. I guess maybe he had to do it. I'm not really sure why he even kind of went there and broached the subject. I know Cena was like kind of teasing it about how he's being hypocritical, and I know
he got hit in one of the pressers with it. So they had
Planet. You think that wasn't a plant though? You think that wasn't a plant?
Probably.
That asked CM Punk that question.
Oh, absolutely. But, everything there is going to be scripted. I know Meltzer was, he was trying to attack Punk in there in WWE saying that they paid to report. No, of course, they control their media. And yes, there is an agenda. That's what these shows are about. It's the over-the-top production and all, that is there to show that, hey, these aren't those bad guys that Jargo's just talking about that are chopping people up and mailing them back to their families. These are people that want to be progressive parts of Western society. And this is a showcase for that. It's a dog and pony show.
And Punk is going to be on board because they're going to be going to Saudi 3 times, I think, next year. And the Royal Rumble's in Saudi next year, so he's got to be
going there.
Right, like these aren't novelty events anymore. Once you start holding the Royal Rumble, once the pathway to WrestleMania kicks off in Saudi Arabia, this is not a novelty anymore.
These are paid political campaigns. I saw somebody, I think it was over in the Hameen Media Group discussion, PLE discussion. So it was like, oh, where's all the advertisers and sponsors in the ring? I said, they're there. They're right in the middle. This is what we call in the business a bot show.
Season. What do you think that is?
That is a bot show. Yes.
When you look at it, like with that Saudi Arabia, you get those fans are awesome. I'm like shocked at like how into pro wrestling they are. They are awesome fans.
It has evolved from the early ones where you saw like the higher ups, the hierarchy, the royal family up there front. Now they do have real fans, and you see the kids and the excitement for the likes of a Cody and and Randy when they came out and got going. And it is for the people there. They are lively. They are enjoying it. Unfortunately, the higher powers that be are something is very off there.
Those people are secondary. They are there to tell the American people and the Western world the Saudi government's not really that bad. That is the purpose.
That is the selling point. It's advertising. It's like the 80s cartoons that we grew up on. It's all a big commercial, a selling point to us. But we're talking about bot shows, gentlemen. This is a big time sell. This is big time numbers. Poz, I know you're a basketball fan. You're out there in the West with the Spurs. I know this one hits especially home for you, Jargo. The Los Angeles Lakers. One of the top 5 American sports franchises of all time sell for $10 billion for one team. This is as much as worth as the WWE as an entire company sold for. Poz, I'll go to you first. A little business of the business.
I was shocked. I didn't know that Buffs, she'll technically still be working with the Lakers, still be there, but I was just shocked that they were selling. I had no idea. But it's one of those things where if you look like, okay, we paid, whatever million for it, and they're going to give us $10 billion, the return on your investment, you can't pass that up. That's like insane. I was just shocked. Worth more than the Yankees.
Like $67 million.
Right? Yeah, worth more than the Yankees, more than the Cowboys. Like you can't turn that money down. $10 billion, like that's nuts. So good job for Jeannie Buss out there. Good work.
I'll say real quick note on her. Is she probably the best looking owner in sports? And she's going to stay on as the face of the franchise going to some of those meetings. Jargo, your thoughts though on this big Lakers sell?
So for anybody that's listening for the first time to the sound of my voice, for as long as I can remember, I mean, I grew up in Iowa, right? So when we would get National Basketball Association games, you got 3 different teams. You got the Chicago Bulls, you got the Boston Celtics, you got the Los Angeles Lakers. That was it. So I grew up a Lakers fan. I've been a Lakers fan since the days of Magic and Kareem and Worthy and Byron Scott. And finally, the thing that broke the Jargo's back was Bronny James. Even when LeBron went there, I tried. I thought that LeBron bringing a championship to Los Angeles, it would make me feel differently. It did not. And when they drafted Bronny, I swore off the Lakers. I haven't worn anything Lakers since then. I sit here proudly in my Indy jersey, my Boomer hat. And I think it's very, very difficult. Is this a PG podcast? Is this a Jargo podcast? Can I drop an F-bomb?
We'll meet in the middle on that.
So there's a scene in Winning Time, the great show that was done by HBO about the Lakers franchise. And there's this scene, and Jeannie Buss has backed this up, of the shot of Jerry Buss laying in the center of the Los Angeles Forum, and he screams out, "I fucking own this!" Because that was Dr. Jerry Buss, and that was how much he loved the Los Angeles Lakers. I still feel the same way. I will always be a Lakers fan at heart, but I cannot support the team and what it has become. And I question, how would Dr. Buss feel about this? Because there's part of me that thinks that Dr. Buss would be rolling in his grave at the idea of the Buss family selling the Lakers. There's also another part of me that thinks he would be incredibly proud of Jeannie for turning around what he invested $67.5 million in and turning it into a $10 billion franchise that the family
can't believe that's crazy to hear it
too. I mean, at the end of the day, but now Jeannie can be fired, and that is very worrisome to me. There's also the question of who really runs the Lakers. Is it Jeannie Buss or is it Cliff Paul, LeBron's agent? Because Cliff Paul has a lot of power inside of the NBA these days. And for those reasons, I can't support the Lakers anymore. Maybe once LeBron leaves, if LeBron does take a trade, I'll be open to it. I will be open to welcoming my heart and my soul back to the Los Angeles Lakers. But for right now, I am just wallowing in the sorrows that is Tyrese Halliburton.
Pause, go ahead.
And I don't count that title, by the way. 2020 doesn't count.
Pause.
You know what? I count it almost more. What that team went through in order to win that bubble championship, as much as people want to hate on it, as hard as that had to be for all those players mentally, I almost give them more credit for winning that chip than I do a regular.
Wow.
NBA
even though
chip.
they didn't have to travel and no away games? Wow.
Even though they didn't get to see their families for, 3 months because they were locked inside the bubble. I mean, like there was a lot of other BS that went along with being stuck inside that bubble other than just playing basketball. And my hat's off to them as an organization for putting up with that.
Wow.
Someone had to win it. Pause, we might have some big winners. Jeannie's got all that extra disposable cash right now. Your thoughts, maybe suggestions, pitches, ideas on how she could use it to maybe help cash in with WOW Wrestling, where she is highly invested in. The women of wrestling, for some of those out there.
Right. It's weird she got that Wrestling Central channel. I don't know how well that will do for Roku. That's kind of teaming up with NWA. But I wonder if she would need to bring in some more big names. I know Tessa has some controversy, so she's not there anymore. But now she's back. She's in TNA. But maybe it would be beneficial to team up with like another company and try to go that route. I don't know if NWA is that right company or not. But I don't know what they could do. Their TV ratings, if you look at actual their ratings and syndication, aren't that bad, but it just feels like not getting a blip on the radar there.
Well, they actually, their ratings are usually very steady or climbing in most of their markets. Again, they are great for syndication. Jargo, I know you've really involved, seen syndication, how well Ring of Honor all the years, how closely you followed it. You've had some great interviews, a great relationship with WOW in the past. How do you think about the possibilities of maybe a little more on the investment side here from Ms. Buss to help out that promotion? Is there an upside to it, or are they kind of what they are?
I mean, I feel like the biggest thing that hurt WOW was NXT. NXT going to the CW when WOW already had a deal with the CW. Same thing with NWA. When NWA got bounced over to the app rather than being on CW proper. Absolutely hurt that company. I feel like the biggest thing is, and I really, really like them.
Am I wrong? I still watch WOW on CW, right? I watch it every Saturday. I'm just making sure that's the channel I'm watching it on.
So you do.
Okay.
But it's done differently. Now that is done through your local CW affiliate rather than CW National. All right. Which is a big difference, especially since Nexstar took over the CW. All right. And that's who the NXT deal is with. NXT is absolutely the CW's baby. NXT draws bigger ratings on the CW than I think anything else on the network at this point. I feel like the big failure in WoW, and Rick, we were at All In. We met with them. We talked with them. The Beast. The Beast is the best independent women's wrestler on the market. How anybody has not signed her to this point is baffling to me. Absolutely baffling. She's incredible. And WoW has not taken advantage of those opportunities. When we were doing Hitting the Marks, I had the opportunity a couple times to sit down with David McLean and discuss WoW and kind of their business strategy, where they wanted to go, who they wanted to be. And I don't feel like they have followed through on that. And that, I feel like, is their biggest failure, especially with the evolution of women's wrestling in this country since WoW launched, which I do think they own partial responsibility for.
I know you wanted to talk a little about the overall women's landscape in wrestling, Jargo. I'll let you kind of jump into that because we didn't have that on the run, so I'll let you shoot with it.
Okay, well, let Poz go. I'm going to go use the restroom, and I'll be right back.
There we go.
Yeah. Should we talk about women's wrestling, or do you want to talk about Real American Freestyle? What do you want to talk about?
We'll wait till he gets back here on it. Hey, I do got a little thing. We were arguing. Is she? Well, Jargo shook his head on this one, so I wasn't really sure. But is Miss Jeannie Buss the best looking owner in sports?
Yes.
How about this one right here, Poz?
Oh,
how about that?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would tend to give that my vote. I guess I'm sure my thought here with WoW. I mean, I think it would be very nice to see maybe a bit more of an investment and see if it could go beyond just that syndication, that regional television. Can they get an actual national slot? And again, as Jargo was saying, that how obviously they were born in the ashes of Glow. Who had such a niche following, but lasted so long there in the 80s. So many people enjoyed that. Could a backing with us, a little bit more financials, provide that platform to finally test the waters to see if women's wrestling can stand on its own, especially now with the growing popularity of a league like the WNBA? I think that would be an interesting point there.
But you know what would happen if WoW caught on? Like WWE would just do their own women's show, and then they would try to overshadow WoW, and then they would probably go on the network that WoW just used. Like they always seem to take whatever somebody's successful and then just kind of
that's their strategies, and that's their market research. Is someone else going to do that? How does that work? I've been saying for a while, for WrestleMania to go overseas for something like that, they used AEW and their success at Wembley. That first year say, wow, they can do a major show. And WWE had their own from way back in the 90s, but they also saw the decline in year 2. So now WWE is looking at that for their international shows. Jargo, I was making a comparison here. WoW. Okay, I was going to say, if WoW could be the front runners to show, and this has been a long time conversation fans have been having back and forth either way, can women's wrestling stand on its own, or will it continue to kind of be, no pun intended, I'm not trying to make light of it, like a side piece, a side show for the men?
I mean, I think it can work, but I think it would have to be a company more like Shine than a company like WoW. And I say that in the respect that when WoW does their TV tapings, they film an entire season of television over the course of 3 days.
Well, that's what we're saying. With the more investment, can we maybe go on the road? Can we get prime time where it's not seasonal, that not same structure, where you do see it comparable to wrestling itself?
Where they are now, no, I don't see that.
I know that's what this investment could potentially do.
Now, I think that a company like TKO, if they wanted to make Evolution more than just a one-off pay-per-view, if they wanted to do a straight women's show, whether it be 1 hour on USA, whether it be 1 hour on the CW, and they were doing a week-to-week sort of broadcast, yes, I think that could work. Under the model that WoW is under now, with them still using kind of that 80s syndication, what killed the territories, Vince McMahon sort of business model, no, I don't think they're equipped for that.
For a women's division for a show, a brand to stand on its own. I know you want to touch on the state of women's wrestling, Jargo. I think it's a good transition forward here. Just give you that kind of open mic. Poz and I have been kind of hyping as we build towards evolution, things that we feel they're doing right, things that they're doing wrong, where those hits and misses are at. Your take on that?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is the booking. That's my biggest issue, right? The
character development and booking.
WWE in particular, they have so much women's talent that it's absurd. I look at that NXT women's roster and they're stacked. Obviously that has changed a little bit with Julia and Roxanne Perez and Shirley Jordan Grace in the immediate future, Jade Cargill, all going directly to the main roster, right? But when you look at the women's landscape, when I see what WWE is doing with Tiffany Stratton, all right, Tiffany Stratton is probably my biggest pet peeve in professional wrestling right now. And it's not her fault. WWE has not changed her character at all. She is still a heel. She has not done one thing to redeem herself as a character. It's not about performance. It's not even necessarily about the booking. But when you put her opposite of somebody like Charlotte Flair, you need to have some kind of a redeeming quality. And Tiffany Stratton just does not have that. She is still a terrible human being.
She is the valley girl that you want to see just get hit by the bus. That's the whole purpose of Mean Girls. I asked Jade this the other day. And now you got her opposing Jade, who is just a cosplay. X-Men doesn't make her look cool. She makes X-Men look worse. And now we don't know who we're going. We'll touch on that.
Who do you want to win that fight?
None of the girls in WWE are likable. And very few are you want to care about.
Another great example is Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez has everything that you would want as a wrestling booker to make an underdog babyface. So what do? You make her a heel and you team her with Raquel Rodriguez as the women's tag team champions inside of Judgment Day, which has been falling apart for a year and a half. It's just idiot booking. Like Roxanne Perez should be your female equivalent to Sami Zayn. And instead you book her as a douchebag heel that wants to hang out with these terrible people. And it doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. People love Becky Lynch. So what do? You turn her heel. People don't like Lyra Valkyria. So what do? You make her an underdog babyface. Like it's all backwards. And when it comes to Evolution 2, I almost find it insulting because let us remember what Evolution 1 was. They would not let the women go to Saudi Arabia for Blood Money 1. And that's what caused Evolution. It was the branching out of the women's division into their own entity. We're beyond that. We are so far past that at this point. If you would just book the women right, you could headline Monday Night Raw right now with Mommy. Mommy is one of the most over talents in the entire company. So what do going into WrestleMania? You take the title off of her and you almost make her a heel. So people don't like her anymore. Why would you do that?
No, they are lost in their direction with it. It is makes you want to pull your hair out.
Terribly mismanaged. Like you could headline right now with Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. That is a main event on Monday Night Raw. And instead, we're turning Liv Morgan, who is incredibly unlikable as a character on television, into a babyface, and we're doing this convoluted mess with Rhea Ripley where you don't know how to feel about her.
Well, even further than that, why, even during the injury, why you pull Liv off of television is beyond me. She could be doing some of her best work and her character work is kind of a comparison. One of the hottest things that AEW ever caught fire with was Britt Baker, who sat in a wheelchair for a year, and she's half the character that Liv is in that understanding there.
Even Toni Storm. Toni Storm is a terrible human being. She is a delusional babyface, which by definition makes her a heel. And she's one of the biggest stars in the entire company. And you wonder why nobody else can get over opposite of Toni Storm.
Poz, switch it a little gears here, Poz. We're talking about some struggling direction. Your boy finding himself in a little bit of trouble. I know he's laid up there in the hospital and how involved he is here, man. We've got some bad news. from the Real American Freestyle Wrestling here. They got about 2 months for their first event coming up, August 30th, Cleveland, Ohio. Beyond me why they chose that city for this. Nothing against Cleveland. They're on the up and up for big events, but not really a mecca hub for what they're trying to pitch here. But, brother, under 400 tickets sold for this thing in a 3,000-seat arena. Poz, is the little Hawkster in you sweating this for your big brother right now?
I just, I'm not into like freestyle wrestling. I just don't think it's like a big popularity thing. I just don't think fans are into it really. I mean, it definitely has a niche audience, but I just don't think it's that popular. The thing is too, why that city? Why would you pick that big of a venue? It's just like mistake. There's been mistakes all over the place. I don't know if it's really been promoted that well either. I mean, I see.
That's one of my questions. I haven't seen it anywhere.
Yeah, it's just like on like Bischoff's Twitter maybe once in a while, but yeah, it's not really been promoted as well as it probably should be. I just don't really see it being a success anyway.
Jargo, your thoughts on the entire Real American Freestyle Wrestling Federation or promotion?
I mean, Eric Bischoff's abs have gotten more press than this entire wrestling promotion.
Yeah,
I mean that at its very core, that's kind of what it comes down to. I'm from Iowa, right? Like home of the greatest
hotbed right. For this style of wrestling.
And if the UFC has taught us anything, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu will beat a wrestler any day of the week, right? Like we have been taught that over the course of the last 20 years. I feel like the biggest struggle is great example. You watch Simone Biles. Simone Biles does gymnastics. She's arguably the greatest gymnast of all time. But somebody like myself or Poz or Rick, we watch gymnastics, and the biggest problem is we don't understand the rules.
I do. I have actually studied it. I maxed out my, when you used to have those recorders, DVRs back in the day, I actually maxed it out studying that, but I still only watch it once every 4 years.
But freestyle wrestling is the same way, right?
It is.
I don't, even growing up in Iowa, I don't understand how they score it. And that's the problem, right? Like when the NFL had their issue several years ago where people didn't know what was a catch, right?
Still don't.
And there was a huge debate. It very much hurt TV ratings. When I watched the NBA Finals this year and I'm watching SGA take his left arm and push somebody off and then take a shot, I don't know what a foul is anymore. And it's hurting the NBA. If I don't understand the rules, I can't get into the game. And unfortunately, that's always been the rip on freestyle professional wrestling. Regardless of who is doing it, whatever the marketing is behind it, the UFC came the closest. And the UFC has taught us that a freestyle wrestler does not stand a chance against somebody who does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so how could you ever hope to be as big as the UFC? And I feel like at the end of the day, that is the biggest thing holding back freestyle wrestling from really breaking into the mainstream is we just don't understand it. It's the same reason soccer never caught on in the United States. What is extra time? I don't know. And I don't think anybody that watches soccer knows either, except for the official that's calling for extra time.
We'll see here. I think it just needs a lot more promotion. I think one of, speaking with MSG, Gage, about that, it kind of made me think that there was hope for this when we first got the announcement, is the need for programming with so many outlets, so many platforms, that there might be some sort of audience, but we haven't seen any kind of promotion, any kind of excitement around this. And I think that's the most disturbing thing. It almost seems that they've already written it off.
What made the UFC? What changed from the UFC being banned on pay-per-view to being one of the biggest sports in the world?
It was that lure of, this is human, the gladiator style, but then they realized they had to structure it, promote it, create some kind of characters in there.
There it is. That's it. Chuck and Tito. That's what changed everything. You had the Huntington Beach bad boy versus the Iceman. And suddenly you had characters that you could invest in, and you wanted to see Tito Ortiz get his ass kicked, or you wanted to see him take down the Iceman. That was it. And the Ultimate Fighter, that's what really changed everything.
You see those up and comers, you're telling those stories. Yep. That's the connection.
And creating those stars. That's what it was. You created a star like Forrest Griffin, and suddenly you cared about that guy and you wanted to see him fight. That's really what's missing from this. There's no star power. There's no characters. I'm not invested. I don't care who wins and loses. And when it comes to professional sports, if you don't care who wins and loses, there's nothing there for you to promote.
What I regularly say is the professional sports out pro wrestling every day of the week now.
1,000,000%.
Poz, we're talking about creating big stars for those big brands, those big leagues. We just seen the NBA. Jargo, our boy Coop getting paid, going number one, first American white boy to go since 77, something
Long
like that.
Time, man.
His parents weren't even alive the last time that American white boy was taken number one. The NHL just had their draft. Poz, I'm going to let you go first on this one. In all of pro wrestling, you're on the clock to build your franchise. Who is your number one draft pick for an in-ring talent for pro wrestling, Poz?
As long as I can get him to be more full-time than he is, it's very, very easy, very simple. Roman Reigns. Pretty cut and dry there. Very, very simple. It would have to be. The man who saved the wrestling from the horrible Vince McMahon doldrums, Roman Reigns.
All right. He's off the board there, I guess, unless you want to go the same. I don't think you would, Jargo, but who have you got for your number one overall draft pick for Team Jargo brand?
I'm looking something up here. Roman Reigns is 40 years old.
I was looking. I looked at age in mind as well. Is going forward, but Poz thinks if he can get a good, solid, full time, 4 or 5 years at him to build that brand, you've got your championship. You got your franchise player.
If you're starting an NBA franchise, would you rather go with LeBron James or Cooper Flagg? At this point, I would rather go with Cooper Flagg. I'm building around youth. The number one pick off of my board is Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He is absolutely the first pick I am taking inside of any pro wrestling draft right now. He has the work rate. He has the personality. He's got the promos. He's got the look. MJF is not missing anything other than, potentially attitude, which when you're dealing with professional athletes, that's kind of what you get.
I'm going to follow in suit a little bit here with Jargo in his direction. I did take age into a serious consideration. I want youth. I want to go for the long term here. I also went back to kind of the formula that Vince McMahon used, looking for a star like Hogan, someone you can truly build around, who has that ultimate physique, that has a charisma, a personality, a uniqueness, someone I can get out there and in the crossover world for my PR to make that connection, to draw other genres in. And I'm going to go to NXT, to their champion, big old Oba Femi for my number one.
Now, if this conversation were going to continue and we were doing a full draft, my number two pick, and I went really back and forth between 1 and 2. My number two pick would be Trick Williams for the same reason. I think just the crossover appeal.
I do. I love me some tricks. I love me some tricks.
That dude, he just screams, I'm a WrestleMania main eventer 6 years from now.
Love him. Speaking of main events, we have semi-main events, co-main events, whatever the case might be. We have new royalty in the WWE. We have new number one contenders. You got to believe one of them is going to close out night 2 of SummerSlam up there in Poz's neck of the woods. They're going to be blowing up them fire, keeping him in the family up for 2 nights in a row there for SummerSlam. But of course, Cody Rhodes defeats Randy Orton in the finals of the King of the Ring. Jade Cargill puts down Asuka in the finals of the Queen, and they have stamped their tickets to have a seat at that championship dinner table at SummerSlam. Let's you guys kind of either one you want to talk about, kind of touch on both of these. Poz, your thoughts on either one. Which one you want to jump on first here of these big main events, these big title matches set for SummerSlam?
Well, Cody better win the title. He better get that win back against Cena and right that wrong and erase that horrible, deplorable, disgusting WrestleMania 41 finish. So please right that wrong, and please end this horrible title run and this horrible gimmick that's been a complete failure. Please end this already. And I feel like Jade, the whole reason she won, Naomi, she's going to win. Naomi's going to cash in. I feel like that's just, it's all about Naomi. I feel like as far as her winning the Queen of the Ring, and it's great that she won. I just feel like it's all leading to Naomi anyway.
Jargo, your thoughts on the two new number one contenders?
Well, I tell you one thing, I'm not headlining either night with Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton. No chance in hell. I'm not headlining with that match.
That's going to be difficult inside of itself. If and I think we would all agree there's conversation about Asuka being amongst the greatest of all time. And if you put her out into the ring like that in a situation as we saw in Saudi, a little over 8.5 minutes of Asuka can't carry you for that. There is no way in hell that Tiffany Stratton is evolved enough as a ring general to get anything out of Jade. And I'm sorry, Jade can print mega bucks, millions of dollars on that look, that presence. But there is zero development, sadly, that we're seeing. She is more worried about the cosplay, about straightening, making sure that her ring gear looks good, and her eyelashes are still attached through the match, where she can't even apply. This is 2 matches in a row where the referee had to help her fix her pin attempt to go over.
What would be worse for the company right now? Okay, releasing Jade Cargill or headlining night 1 of SummerSlam with Jade Cargill? Which is worse? Because I feel like that's a real conversation to be had. Good. I'm with you, Rick. If you can't have a good match with Asuka, you can't have a good match, period. And if you can't have a good match, you cannot headline. In the current climate, with everything that we are seeing going on inside of women's wrestling. I mean, I saw Julia versus Shuri, right? In Stardom. That was a main event. I see Mariah May versus Toni Storm. That was a main event. Jada Parker versus Jordan Grace. I would put over Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. I mean, it's not a good matchup. It's not good for either woman. I don't see anybody that benefits from this. In fact, I think I would go as far to say that opens night 2 rather than closing night 1.
Yeah. I see that. Poz, let me throw it back to that men's there real quick. You're talking about Cody's got to capture that championship revenge, that terrible ending there at WrestleMania. Brother, what about the run? Was Cody kind of teasing that this baby run might be coming to him? What about a double turn at SummerSlam?
That is possible, which would kind of be odd, though, because I feel like they haven't really built Cody up as anything like where he's teasing any sort of heelish stuff lately. So
let me ask you this, Poz. Okay, which solution do you like better? Cody Rhodes walks out undisputed WWE champion and John Cena remains a heel, or you do a double turn, John Cena walks out Universal champion and Cody Rhodes becomes the lead heel on SmackDown. Which is the better scenario for WWE? Because I feel like the double turn is the much better option, especially after what we just saw in Saudi Arabia, where Cody Rhodes is getting booed. Like it's AEW all over again. It's all coming to fruition. I've told you all for years that Cody Rhodes is a terrible human being. He still owes me money. He's never delivered. And Cody Rhodes is a heel. He has no redeeming qualities as a professional wrestler. There is no reason for anybody to like Cody Rhodes. And yet, inside of the match with CM Punk, there was a slight glimmer of hope that you could see John Cena finish under the adoration of the WWE universe.
Yeah, he's got to go babyface. Cena is a horrible heel. Let's just put that out there.
He's a terrible babyface. He's a terrible professional wrestler in 2025. Well, yeah. That's nothing against John Cena. That's just the business has left him behind.
Yeah. He knows that. That's why he wants to, to head out on his way. Well, you guys talk about the business moving forward. Let's take a step back. Let's go back in time. Let's get up to 88 miles per hour. Flip that switch. Get the flux capacitor going.
1.21 gigawatts, Huckleberry.
Yes. This week would be coming up this Friday, July 4th. But way back in 1993, on the deck of the SS Intrepid, then champion, the foreign invader. You talk about an ultimate heel there. Yokozuna. Yeah, he's a Zua. Yokozuna. That half-ton, 500-pound monster up there challenging all of America, not just pro wrestlers, across the board. We were talking about the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, boxing, whatever. All athletes could come there and attempt to body slam the champion. They all lined up. Everyone failed. Even the great Macho Man Randy Savage, the final attempt fails, and we believe we have failed as a nation. But then off in the horizon, in the sunset, here comes that beautiful chopper that Huey sets down. Who steps foot on that soil? No other than Lex Luger, then dubbed the Narcissist, but he found it in his heart, that red, white, and blue pumping through his veins. He was there to represent Old Glory, Uncle Sam, all of us. Hey, and not just Uncle Sam. He became Uncle Slam that day. The body slam heard around the world. Poz, I know what this meant to you, man. Lex slams Yoko, man. Take me back to those emotions you had.
That was pretty awesome. That was pretty epic back in the day. It was, what a turn. You didn't think that Luger, first of all, was going to be a babyface at this point, and then he finally gets.
Look at that crowd. Look at that, baby. That's the American
Yoko.
hero.
Yeah, there's so many guys and legends and all these guys that failed at their attempt to do it, and Luger was able to do it. Pretty awesome moment as far as back in the USS Intrepid back in July 4th, 1993. I don't know. I thought it was great, but obviously Luger probably not the right guy for that character.
Jargo, your thoughts in the moment there.
So I have multiple thoughts looking back on it, right? So at the time, I'm happy you brought up the Narcissist, because the Narcissist kind of plays into what we're talking about in 2025, right? Lex Luger never had that redeeming moment. He was still the narcissist that just became the American hero because Hogan was gone, right? And I feel like if you look back on it, that was the moment that left the door open for WCW. I'm not sure Monday Nitro and everything that happened with WCW in the coming years happens if it's not for Lex Luger versus Yokozuna. I feel like that was absolutely a driving force inside of the pro wrestling community to say, you want me to believe that this dirtbag that you have told me for a couple of years now is a terrible human being, and now he's the face of America, and he's slamming a Samoan that you want me to believe is Japanese and is like this big threat to America? Because we were at that age, though, Huckleberry. Like, you can roll your eyes, but
they said it was representing.
Right before
they dropped that from
wars, and that was the kind of stuff that put WWF at the time behind the 8 ball and opened the door for WCW to step in and take over for 83 weeks. I don't think that happens if it's not for Lex Luger versus Yokozuna. And I can't take off the blinders at this point and say, oh no, this is how I felt in the moment, because I've spent too many years analyzing the moment.
I could still go back to that. I still remember, just turned 13 years old. We are still looking for a new hero.
We're right at that
I was in the arena when Yoko ended Hulkamania for that run. Before he would come back, when he left, I saw Yoko put him down.
But that moment also leads to the burial of Bret Hart. That moment directly leads to the burial of Bret Hart.
What ultimately screwed this over, buried this right away, is the indecisions that the management had with it. That immediately they pulled back. You have this moment that no matter what Lex Luger had did, even the Lex Luger that we had known as part of the Horsemen, that was in the NWA, that was in WCW, that we didn't like, that could all have been forgiven because he got over for Old Glory. He was he was rising above his own ego, his own narcissistic ways for America. We had that. The Lex Express was freaking awesome. And that was a great PR move. But now what it kills it is a couple months later at SummerSlam, when we're acting, we have got all, the glitter, the red, white, and blue, the fireworks for a count out win. It was dead in the water at that point. That's what.
But it also would have changed had they established that going into it. Right, like the stark contrast.
I would pause to have to see who was it going to be.
The contrast between the Narcissist and the Lex Express, there was nothing that converted Lex Luger from one character to the other.
America.
Right, there was no big moment where
America.
the Lex Express stood up for America, where he took a stand against the heels and established himself as that clear number one babyface. And that's what was missing, and that's what's missing right now, whether it be Cody Rhodes, whether it be Roman Reigns is the same thing. Roman Reigns is still the same dirtbag character that he always was when he was with the Bloodline. It just got over, and they think inside of their storytelling mechanism that is enough, and it's not. And that's where pro wrestling continues to fall short inside of the pop culture landscape.
Well, Poz, I think we know who isn't going to be Jargo's answer for our next topic here. We're going to stay on that American theme for the 4th of July. I'll let you go to it because, hey, I know you're probably going to be able to throw out a couple of these and give some great explanations for it, but we want to know, who is the greatest all-American gimmick of all time? And a little Easter egg, a little throwback to us three riding with the Who Is Gimmick.
Yes.
But again, Poz, the greatest all-American gimmick in professional wrestling.
Well, El Grande Americano is undefeated, so you got to just throw it out there.
On my short list. On my short list.
Yes, got to be. And apparently not injured, by the way, which is phenomenal.
Here's another one to throw out that nobody's going to think of. What about Brian Cage? When Brian Cage was doing the All-American gimmick in Mexico, you remember that?
Yes.
Getting mad heat?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. I got to go with the real American himself, Hulk Hogan. To me, that's the greatest, but maybe the most over, just as far as not Hogan, because I know real American stuff, but just as far as like just other guys that doing it, got to go Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, that's a great one.
I like Hogan. If I could rebut though to your Hulk Hogan, because I knew you were going to go there, and it is hard to be, because going in against Slaughter and always representing that red, white, and blue, and telling all the kids, with I was going to say the Cena thing, but the vitamins, the prayers. But as I'm thinking about Hogan, he might be a great All-American representative, but truly it's for the wrong reasons when it comes to Hulk Hogan, because even back then, he spoke out one side of his mouth. He was totally the heel in the Macho Man situation. But he wanted your sympathy. Turning on the fans as he did in the NWO. That wasn't very patriotic, a very American way there of Hulk Hogan. What do we say in the negatives from Hulk Hogan? We know that the vitamins and the prayers, those were all illegal substance use. Those were built there. The bigotry, the turning on the people, bearing and holding down of the talent. Not very American to go and squash a union before it's even getting going there, Poz. So I don't know if I can put him there. And for Hacksaw. Oh, love the Hacksaw, but let's not forget he defected to Team Canada.
Oh, that's also valid.
Defected to Team Canada. So the real All-American I could come up with that really went out there, that truly fought for what represents America, that red, white, and that blue, would be the man himself, who we sadly just mourned and remembered how passing his a few years ago, and that would be the Patriot himself.
Oh, okay.
That's also a very good one.
Jargo, your pick.
So I'm going to surprise everybody. All right. I'm going to say Hulk Hogan. However, not the Hulk Hogan that you all think of. John Poz, little history for you. Who was the first IWGP World Heavyweight Champion?
Antonio Inoki.
No. The first IWGP World Heavyweight
when he won the tournament was Hogan.
Was Hulk Hogan, who defeated Antonio Inoki.
Technically did win that tournament.
American hero, bad guy, taking the title from the Japanese fans. That to me is the best Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan Ichiban. To me, that was the best All-American gimmick. And it was Hogan being a douchebag, which is very in line with Hulk Hogan, the human being, racist, sexist Hulk Hogan, my number one All-American gimmick.
Only Jargo would go with the great American gimmick by making the world hate us. Okay.
But it was great. It was brilliant. It was one of the smartest decisions that New Japan Pro Wrestling could possibly make. Rick, we have had this conversation numerous times. Japanese professional wrestling built around the white man coming in, taking the World Heavyweight Championship, and then the Japanese star chasing that belt. That is the entire way Japanese professional wrestling has been built. It is still built that way to this day, going all the way to Kenny Omega, going all the way to Zack Sabre Jr. catching the championship from Hiroki Goto, the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. It's not just an American thing. It's Whitey taking the belt from the Japanese, and then the Japanese chasing after the white guy to win the title back. Whether that be Shooter, whether that be Uemura, regardless of who it is that captures that title from Zack Sabre Jr., immediately a made star. Hulk Hogan winning that championship from Antonio Inoki, being the first person to win the G1 Climax and claim that championship, that is Hulk Hogan and a real American, brother.
All right, Jargo. What a great way to end it there with you, man. You took us off guard, a little swerve there. A great
You're
rant,
welcome.
brother.
You're welcome. I thought about that one for 2 days.
Wow. Jeez.
There we go. Thanks again, brother, for joining us. Poz, anything before we get out of here, man?
I'm just kind of curious what you could use for the pop of the week. I'm just kind of thinking about it.
I feel kind of bad. In this way, I am going with the American way. For our pop of the week here. It is a shameless self-promotion. Make sure you tune in right here to the channel Friday at 11:45 a.m. Eastern. We're going live for high noon. It is RBV's annual Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. Watch along. This is international.
This is what, the 4th or 5th year?
Yes, 4th year with this damn thing. We pull in a few thousand. I think we peaked one year with 7 countries watching this thing live, baby. It is a great time, a great breakdown. So I invite everybody to remember it's coming up this Friday, July 4th. It is going to be a Lex Luger slamming Yokozuna type of atmosphere, type of moment. You're going to be telling your kids about it as the return. The Nut is back to bust up some competition. He is here to reclaim his yellow mustard championship, but there are other contestants there that want to make a name for themselves. We're going to separate them, man, from the dreamers, the real contenders to the pretenders. It's coming up again this Friday, 11:45 Eastern, right here on the Hameen Media Group channel. Gentlemen, thank you, and we will see you on the next episode of the 10K.